So what is yield to call? If you talk about yield to call, there is a concept called the call feature. Some of the bonds have a call feature, not all the bonds, but some of the bonds have the call feature. So what do you mean by this call feature? If any bond has a call feature, that means it allows the issuer to buy back the bond at a specific price at a particular time period. So that means, for example, a company X has issued the bond to you. Then at the time of issuance, whenever the agreement or the indenture provisions have been made, in that particular point of time, in the document itself, it will be written that if the issuer wants, they can buy back the bond from you. If they want. If bond has, it is not mandatory, but if they want, they can buy back that particular bond at a particular price. And that price will be mentioned in the beginning. That price will be mentioned in the beginning. That means even if you don't want to sell the bond to them, but you are forced to sell the bond to them if the bond has the call feature. If the bond has the call feature, then the bond can be bought back by the issuer itself. If there is any provision is mentioned in the document whenever the bond is issued. Okay. And when the bond will be called and at what price the bond will be called, all those kind of features will be mentioned in the beginning whenever the bond is issued. Okay. So in that particular case, there is some risk involved from the investor point of view, because you are the investor. So even if you are not interested to sell the bond at that particular point of time, but still you are forced to sell that particular bond, the reason is the bond issuer wanted to buy back that particular bond. And the bond issuer will pay the money whichever is mentioned in the beginning itself. So in that particular context, what basically we call it, whenever we calculate this yield to maturity of that type of bond, that is called the yield to call. That particular concept is defined as the yield to call. So for a yield to call feature bond, or there is a bond which has the call feature, then how to calculate the yield to call? So if you remember, we know that the price of a bond is nothing but your summation T is equal to 1 to n, your cash flow at the time period T divided by 1 plus r to the power T plus your face value of the bond divided by 1 plus r to the power n. That already we know. But it is for the common bond. The bond which has no call feature involved. But if there is a call feature, then what basically will happen? So instead of F, here we have to discount it with respect to the call price, which will be mentioned in the document from the beginning. So then your price equation will be, is it T is equal to 1 to n, your CFT divided by 1 plus r to the power T plus your call price CP divided by 1 plus r to the power n. 1
Sir,
plus
n should
r to
also
the,
change here, right?
yes,
N should also change here, right? Because we are calling in between.
that I am coming to that. And what is your n? The n is basically number of periods, the number of periods to the identified call rate. Identified call rate. Call rate. So if you go back our previous example, that whatever we have taken from the beginning, that is a bond. The maturity period of the bond is, total maturity period is 10 years. Coupon is, let 10%, sorry, 9% we have taken. Then let the bond is callable in 5 years. Bond is callable in 5 years. And the call price, which is already mentioned by the issuer, that is let rupees 1100. And already we know that the par value of the bond we have taken, the face value of the bond is 1000. So previously we were discounting it with respect to this 1000 rupees. But now the call price is mentioned, that is 1100. And here we have assumed that the coupon is paid semi-annual. Semi-annual. If the coupon is paid semi-annually and the call price is mentioned, that is 1100, and this bond is can be callable in 5 years time, then for a semi-annual bond we have calculated, that is price of the bond became 937.68. So now you can equate that particular price with respect to, because 5 years there are 10 periods are remaining. So then I will have T is equal to 1 to 10. Your coupon will be 45 divided by your 1 plus r to the power T plus 1100 divided by 1 plus r to the power 10. Then if you solve this equation, then whatever r basically you will find, that r will give you the yield to call. That r will give you yield to call. If it is a bond which is paying the coupon annually, then we have find that 938.55 is equal to your T is equal to 1 to 5. It will be 90 divided by 1 plus r to the power T plus your 1100 divided by 1 plus r to the power 5. Because after 5 years the bond will be callable, so accordingly the particular time period will be fixed. What basically question you have raised. So whatever r basically you will find, that r basically will be giving you the yield to call. So this is the concept what basically we use whenever we calculate the yield to call of a particular bond, and that is basically applicable for those bonds where there is a call feature. If the bond has the call feature, this is the way the yield to call can be calculated. So whenever you solve this equation, you will find that it will be coming around 0.610575. So this is for the semi-annual. Then if you want to make it annual, then you just multiply 2 into 0.610575. That is coming around 12.21%. So relatively, the yield to call is relatively higher. The reason was because the bond has a risk, and from the investor point of view, if there is any risk involved, then automatically the call price of that particular bond will be higher than the face value of that particular bond. So here the face value or the par value of the bond is 1000, but whenever you have gone for the call features, then you have, or the issuer has fixed the price, that is 1100. So that is the way the yield to call of that particular bond can be calculated if the bond has the call feature. Is it clear? Yes, Nitin, Abhidev, Priyansa,
Yes,
Priyanka,
sir. Yes,
is
sir.
it clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. So that concept is called the yield to call. Then we can move towards to another yield concept, that is called the yield to put. So the bond can have a call feature. The bond also can have a put feature. So what is the put feature? If this particular bond can be putable, that means it has given the investor or bondholder the right to sell the bond back to the issuer at a specified price. That is called the put price. So there the issuer has the option that at what price they want to buy back that particular bond. But in case of put feature, it has given the right to the bond investor or the bond holder that what price they want to sell the bond at a particular point of time. Okay. So whenever the bond has a put feature or it is a putable bond, generally we calculate the yield to put. So in this case, how we can calculate the yield to put? The same concept you can use. Here, the yield to put basically will equate the present value of the bond's cash flow to the assumed put date plus the present value of the put price at the put date, okay, to the bond price. At a particular yield, which particular yield the bond price will be equal to the present value of the bond cash flows up to this put dates, and as well as the present value of the put price, which is mentioned already at the put date. So in this case, your equation will be automatically your P is equal to 1 to n, your CF divided by 1 plus R to the power T plus your put price divided by 1 plus R to the power n. And here your n is the number of periods, the same thing to the identified put date. Identified put date. That is basically the same example we can take. Our price was 937.69. Only difference we can make, let the put price is 950. Generally, the put price will be lower than the par value of that particular bond, because the put price generally is fixed by the issuer himself. So in that particular point of time, generally they fix the risk basically is from the issuer point of view. The issuer generally takes the risk in that particular regard. So because of that, they generally fix the put price, which will be relatively lower than this par value of that particular bond. So then how we can calculate the yield to put? Yield to put will be 937.69 is equal to your semi-annual coupon if you consider, then this T is equal to 1 to 10, your 45 divided by 1 plus R to the power T plus your 950 divided by 1 plus R to the power 10. Because it is a semi-annual coupons, so 5 into 2, 10 periods. So if you solve this equation, you will find it is 0.0490387. So this multiplied by 2, 387 multiplied by 2, that will give you around 9.8%. Relatively, the yield will be lesser because the yield to maturity of that particular bond, we have already known that is 10%. But in this case, you are getting 9.8%. But if the bond has a call feature, if the price was 1100, then we can say that that is basically around 12.2%. So this is the way the yield to put and yield to call basically is calculated. Then another concept we have that is basically what we call it, that how we can calculate a particular bond. What we are basically assuming here, we are assuming that you are basically buying the bond and you are keeping the bond up to the maturity period. If the 10 years is the maturity period, you are holding the bond up to the 10 years period. Accordingly, the yield to maturity, yield to put, yield to call, all kinds of things basically what we are calculating. Mostly the yield to maturity you are calculating, assuming that the bond investor is holding the bond up to the maturity. But if any investor wants to sell the bond before the maturity, if any investor wants to sell the bond before the maturity, then how much return they will get from that and what is the price of that particular bond? You assume that the particular investor wants to sell the bond before the 10 years was the maturity, you want to sell it at 7 years. So if you want to sell it at 7 years, then what is the return or what is the yield you are going to get from this? So if that is the concept, that concept we call it the concept is called the realized yield, or we call it the total return. How much total return we are getting if any investor wants to sell the bond before this maturity period. If you want to do this, then how basically you can calculate this? It is the concept is called the total return or the realized yield. So how it will be done? Let me tell you. So here, whenever we calculate the total return, it is basically measures the yield of that particular bond, assuming the cash flows has to be reinvested in the market, and this particular bond is not held by the bond investor up to the maturity. Okay. So you have to calculate the horizon date, at what date or what year the bond has been sold. Then at that particular point of time, what was the bond price? And considering this current price or value of this particular horizon at which the bond is sold, you can find out this total return. Let me give you one example. Suppose there is one investor who buys a bond whose maturity period is 4 years. You assume. Let coupon is 10%. And if I tell you that the bond is selling at its par value, and the par value of the bond is 1000. What does it mean? Yes. Hello. If the bond is selling at the par value means, what does it mean?
C is equal to R.
C is equal to R. So in this case, the your market price of the bond is also 1000. At that particular price, he is basically investing in that particular bond. Let you have hold the bond up to 3 years, and you need money after 3 years. Assume you need cash at the end of the 3 years, and that's why we can assume that the horizon period or your holding period is 3 years. Your holding period is 3 years. Then how we can calculate that how much return? Here in this case, you may not find much difference, but I just wanted to tell you the process. So the first, what basically you have to do, the investor has sold the bond at the end of the 3 years. Then whenever he has sold the bond at the end of the 3 years, what is the price of the bond? How will you find out? Tell me. If you want to sell the bond after 3 years, then at what price you will sell it? How will you find out that? Tell me. After 3 years, what will be the price of the bond? How will you calculate? Krishna, you want to tell something? No. Who will tell? Ravi? Ravi?
Yes, sir.
At what price you will sell the bond? How will you find out that?
Sir, at what price we sell? Do we mean the face value? The
Face value is given, na? Par value is 1000 rupees. And this, if you are holding the bond up to 4 years, then definitely you will be getting 1000 rupees. But you have sold the bond after 3 years. Then if you want to sell the bond after 3 years, then at what price you will sell it? How will you find out that? Are you getting my question?
Yes, sir.
Then what price you will sell it? How will you find out that?
Then we'll see. We'll make that 1 year calculation based on that.
Tell me, what is the cash flow?
Okay. It is equal to the coupon 10% at 100 by
100
100 by 1 plus R. That's it, sir. Because it is just for 1 year, 100 by 1 plus R plus face value 1000 by 1 plus R.
So can you write 100 plus 1000?
Yeah.
Divided by 1.1 to the power 1, right?
Yes.
Because only 1 year left.
Yes.
So obviously, because it is your coupon is equal to your discount rate, so then automatically the price also will become 1000. Am I right? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
So if you want to sell the bond after 3 years, then your selling price of the bond is 1000 rupees. But that is not the only thing. You have bought the bond at the price of 1000 rupees. You have sold the bond at the price of 1000 rupees. But here already I told you that whenever we calculate the total return, we consider the reinvestment of the coupons. The reinvestment of the coupons. So, and as well as the coupon payments, which is already made to you. So how many coupons you have received already?
3 coupons.
Yes.
3 coupons.
End of the first year, you get how much? 100 rupees? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Are you getting my point or not? Are you
Yes, sir.
ओके अरे आंसर दो, अभी भी नींद में हो क्या प्रियंसा? प्रियंसा
No, sir.
आंसर दो. Then end of the first year you will get 100 rupees. So if this 100 rupees will be reinvested in the market, and this already we have assumed that the market rate is 10%, then how much you will get? This 100 rupees will fetch you how much money if you have reinvested that money in the market at a rate of 10%?
100 into 1.1.
100?
100 into 1.1 square. After
100
3
into
years.
1 square. Right, good. You will get 121 rupees. Okay. So end of the second year, you will get another 100 rupees. So then how much you will get end of the 3 years? 100 into 1.1? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
You will get 110 rupees. Then end of the third year, you will get another 100 rupees. So that will give you only 100 rupees. So total how much money you have generated from the coupon? 121 plus 100, 110 and plus 100. So you will be getting 331 rupees. So whatever coupons you have received in the different years, if you reinvest that coupon in the market at a particular rate which is already given to you, then total money you will be getting 331 rupees. So that 331 rupees consisting of the 300 rupees is the coupon and 31 rupees is the interest on the interest or the reinvestment return, whatever you will be getting from this. Then how much total money you have generated from this particular bond? कितना हुआ रे? You have sold the bond at a price of 1,000. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
If you have sold the bond at a price of, Rafiq,
Yes, sir.
you have sold the
1,000.
bond at a price of 1,000 and you received 331. Then total कितना हुआ? 1331.
1331.
So your ending value of the investment is 1331. And at what price you have bought the bond?
1,000.
1,000. The buying price is 1,000. Then what is the return then?
331.
Meaning in terms of percentage, what is the holding period return? How will you calculate?
331 by 1,000 into 100.
अरे नहीं, your ending price or ending value divided by the beginning or purchase price
Oh,
whole to the power. How many years you are holding it? 3 years.
3.
1 by 3 minus 1. So your ending price is 1331. Your beginning price, at what price you have bought it, that is 1,000 to the power 1 by 3 minus 1. That will give you the total return. So in this case you will get 10% because we have assumed everything is same. You will find the differences if the coupon and this discount rate will be different, because your this price will be different. Your coupon and so basically you have bought the bond at the price of 1,000. Then whenever you have sold the bond, your total value of that particular bond has become this much. Then end of the day, your total return basically will be your ending value divided by the beginning value or the purchase price to the power 1 by 3, because your holding period is 3 years, 1 by 3 minus 1. So that will give you the 10% return in this case, because we have assumed that the coupon is equal to your what we call it, the discount rate and all. So because of this, we are getting every time the 10% in this particular case. Is it clear or not?
Sir, discount rate need not essentially be the same as the market rate, right?
Exactly. This is an assumption.
Okay.
This is an assumption, but if the discount rate will change in the market, accordingly your total return also will change. Okay. Are you getting my point?
Yes, sir, I got it.
Yeah. If you are assuming that the total return, the discount rate is the same at whatever rate has been applicable from the beginning, then this is the way you can calculate. But it will be given if the discount rate will be different in the market in that particular point of time, then accordingly your total return also will be changed. So this is basically a kind of practical concept always we should understand, and that particular return is called either the total return or we can call it the realized return. So it is the ending value of the investment divided by the beginning value of the investment to the power 1 by your horizon period. Then that will give you basically the total return from that particular investment. But the question here is that if you see, and already you have raised that question, if the spot interest rates in the market or the interest rates in the market will change, accordingly your total return from that particular investment also is going to be changed. But the question here is that our major concern in that particular discussion is basically the market interest rate. So already in the beginning we have discussed certain theories which try to explain the what factors basically determine these interest rates. So whenever you talk about this interest rate determination, which is the most important factor for valuation of the bonds or to calculate this return from the bonds, so we have to also understand how exactly the interest rate is determined in the market. Already you know this, but I will talk about from the different perspective, because we have discussed about the loanable fund theory, you have the Keynesian theory, we have also discussed about the classical theory. So all those theories basically gives you the idea now holistically how this market interest rate is determined. But in the practical sense, if you talk about the interest rate determination for a bond investment is basically little bit different because it has two components. So whenever you talk about the interest rate, if I write R is equal to the interest rate, R is a basically function of the economic factors which is affecting the demand and supply forces of the different funds, and as well as some of the factors which is related to the bond characteristics. There are two types of factors which basically determine this interest rate. Some of the factors is basically with respect to the bond, with respect to the market, and some of the factors which are basically with respect to the bond. What type of bond, who is the issuer, and all kinds of things. So here, whenever you talk about the economic factors, already you know what factors basically determine. And the premium, extra premium, whatever you got, that is basically comes from, it is basically nothing but the risk premium. So economic factors basically, first of all, you see, we have a concept called the risk-free rate. And the risk-free rate is basically comes from the like treasury bill rate, government issued treasury bill rate, government bond rate, and all these things. And as well as we consider the inflation into that. So we can write the economic factors component comes from the risk-free rate part plus the inflation part. And the second factor, which is the bond characteristics, which is giving you the extra premium with respect to the types of the bond. With respect to the types of the bond. So this particular thing, the question here is that there are certain things we have to keep in the mind, that what causes the overall market interest rate to rise and fall, and why the alternative bonds have different interest rates. Okay, and why the difference in the rates between the different bonds change over the time. Why the alternative bonds of the different interest rates or yield is different for the different type of bonds, and why the difference in rates basically is observed between the alternative bonds over the time, why the change is different. So these are the things basically answered by a concept called the term structure of interest rates. The term structure of interest rates. So this basically gives you the idea why these interest rates are different for different type of bonds. What is the issue basically involved with respect to that, and what are those factors basically is responsible for that. So mostly these factors are basically coming from the bond characteristics. Economic factors will give you the idea about the what is the inflation and what is the risk-free rate available in that particular point of time, what is the policy rates and all these things. So apart from that, that is the best component, and as well as in addition to that, there is a premium component involved in that, and that premium component basically comes from the characteristics of the bond. So whenever you talk about the different type of bond characteristics which affect the particular bond return or the interest rates of that particular bond, what are those characteristics? What are those factors? And considering those factors, different theories were developed. What are those factors? First of all is the quality of the issue. Quality of the issue. What is the quality of the issue? Which is nothing but the default risk of this issuer. Whenever this, who is the issuer? If the probability of default risk is higher, then obviously that particular issuer will pay you high interest because the risk is more in that particular case. Right? This is number one. Number two, obviously, the term to maturity. If the maturity period is longer, already you have seen, if the maturity period is longer, the price volatility of the bond also will be higher. So that means the investing in the longer term bond is relatively riskier than the investment in the short-term bonds. So that's why the long-term bonds should give high return in comparison to the short-term bonds. Then what is the other thing just now we have seen? If that is bond has any kind of features, like it may have a call feature, it may have a put feature, etc. Any specific type of features are involved in that particular bond. And another factor we have that may be if you are investing in an international bond, then your exchange rate risk and your country risk, all these things will come into the picture. So therefore, there are different type of factors, which is, and this factor is basically related to the bond issuer point of view. and this nature of the bond. What kind of features are available with respect to the bond, with respect to term to maturity, with respect to call feature, put feature, etc. Then as well as it also consider the probability of default of that particular bond in the market. So therefore, we have to understand what is this term structure. And the term structure of interest rate generally popularly known as the yield curve. The term structure of interest rate is popularly known as the yield curve, which basically gives you the idea. So it is basically a function which relates the term to maturity to the yield to maturity for a sample of the bonds at a given point of time. At a given point of time, if you want to establish a relationship between the yield to maturity and the term to maturity, then it will give you the yield curve. And yield curve is a very powerful kind of approach to predict the interest rate in the market, or to understand the interest rate in the market. That is basically traditionally used. That's why we call it the yield curve is a public good. So anybody can see this yield curve and can understand that what is the interest rate is going to prevail in the market in the future. They can forecast to some extent by reading this yield curve. So yield curve has the different shape. Yield curve has the different shape on the basis of the different type of factors, and different theories basically tries to or attempts to explain the particular shape of the yield curve. That we'll discuss one by one. But in general case, how this yield curve basically looks like. So whenever you talk about the yield curve, already I told you that yield curve basically gives you the idea about the term to maturity and your yield to maturity. It shows you the relationship between the term to maturity and the yield to maturity. So if I say this is your time period or term to maturity, and this is your yield to maturity, then many cases we basically observe a rising yield curve. This is called the rising yield curve. And when we can get a rising yield curve? When this yields on the short-term securities or short-term bonds are lower and rise consistently with longer maturity. And once it will reach a particular level, it becomes flatter. So that means the bonds having longer maturity will give you more yield in comparison to the bonds having the shorter maturity. The bonds having the longer maturity will give you the more yield than the bonds having the short maturity. So that particular curve is basically will give you a rising yield curve. So whenever you talk about this, is there possibility, and when this kind of thing basically happens? The rising yield curve is the most common type of yield curve, and it tends to prevail when the interest rates are at low or at the modest level, And there is a possibility that it talks about the normal situation in the market. It does not basically consider any kind of problem or any kind of specific situation in the market. It talks about only the normal situation in the market. And in the normal situation, this kind of curve is observed, where the longer term maturity bonds should give you more return in comparison to the short maturity bonds. And there is another shape of the yield curve also can be observed. That is called the declining yield curve. So why basically, and what do you mean by the declining yield curve? When the short-term bonds give you more yield in comparison to the longer-term maturity bonds. If your short-term bonds will give you more return in comparison to the longer-term maturity bond, so this kind of curve can be prevailed. And when this declining yield curve is possible in the market, or we can call it, it is an inverted yield curve. This also can be called as an inverted yield curve. And this declining or the inverted yield curve may occur when the rates are relatively already high. The current interest rates in the market is quite high. And there is a possibility that the interest rate is going to be down in the future. Interest rate is going to be down in the future. And what is the basic reason for that? Can you guess any point you can highlight that when this interest rates in the market is quite high? Yes.
So can you repeat the question?
When, under what condition the interest rates in the market is relatively very high? Existing interest rates. What could be the possible reasons for high interest rates in the market?
Scarcity and supply of funds.
Little bit expand it.
Low savings rate.
No. Don't use about the savings. Savings rate is again a market determined rate. I'm talking about interest rate in the sense that is linked to many types of interest rates. But under what condition the interest rates will be higher, whether it is saving rate or it is a loan rate or it is the bond yield, whatever it may be. Under what condition in the aggregate market? In related to with respect to inflation. Inflation is high or low?
Sir, high.
If inflation is high, then the interest rates will be there is a possibility that interest rate will be higher to reduce the inflation, right? Am I right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now when the inflation will be high?
Why will it reduce the inflation when interest rates are high?
Ravi, can you little bit louder?
Sir, I did not understand why, if the interest rates are high, I mean, why if inflation is high, interest rates will be high, and how does that counter affect us?
Priyanka, tell, if the inflation rate is high, then why this interest rate will be high? When inflation rate will be high?
When there is more money supply.
When there is more money supply. If there is more money supply, then how we can control the money supply?
By increasing the interest rate.
By increasing the interest rate. So which interest rate you can increase? The policy rates? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
the repo rate, reverse repo rate, and all these things you will increase. So if you are in that particular point of time, your risk-free rate also will increase. Call money rate will increase. Then if those rates will increase, then automatically that will be the impact on the different market determined interest rates, like your loan rates, your saving rates, and all these things. So, Ravi, is it clear?
Sir, it is clear until like I understand that repo rates and all will increase, but why will that affect the market rate? I mean, how is it relating the
What
market?
do you mean by market rate? Market rate means
I mean, we include everything as much diverse as possible.
no,
All
no,
the investment.
market rate means it is all the rates are market rate. Call money rate is a market rate. Your loan rates, your lending rates by the commercial banks are also market rate. So the saving rate is also a market rate, because saving rate is not basically determined by the RBI or anybody. That's why it varies from one bank to another bank. The loan rates also vary from one bank to another bank. It depends upon the demand supply positions of that particular fund with respect to that particular bank. So these all kinds of considerations basically is related to the policy rates. So if there is high inflation, to control that inflation, the policymakers will always change these policy rates. So the policy rates will have the impact on these other market related rates. Then there is no specific rate, what we call it the market rate. So all kinds of rates which basically we observe. So these rates are all market rates only. These are determined by the demand supply forces of that particular kind of instrument, and accordingly the market rate will be determined for that particular product. So the interest rate possibility of high interest rate is major reason is the because of certain external shock also. There may be some international reasons, some financial crisis in some particular place. So any kind of reason will be responsible for high inflation in the market. It may be coming from the supply side, it may come from the demand side. So either of these two reasons, if for any reason the inflation rate is high, then there is obviously there is a compulsion that this interest rate has to increase to control that. So whenever your interest rate will increase in a current period, always these investors or the market participants expects that in the future the interest rate will be down, maybe 3 years down the line. So that's why whenever you are going to invest in a bond in that particular point, your short-term bonds will give you the high yield or high return in comparison to the bonds which are, because if the interest rate is very high, your price of the bond will go down. So in that case, there is a possibility that you will find that the long-term bonds will give you less return in comparison to the short-term bonds, because in future whenever the interest rate is going to be down, so the return from the particular bond will go down. But these situations are not unique situations. These situations are the unique situations. This is not the common situation which prevail. But there is a possibility that this kind of situation may prevail in the market if for any reason the inflation rate is quite high in that particular point of time, or in a short period of time the interest rate is high, and there is a possibility or there is a chance that the interest rate may go down in the future. That is one reason, but I will give you another reason also. For example, you talk about forget about the bond. You talk about a interest rates, loan rates. Is there any condition is there where you will pay high interest rates for a short-term loan in comparison to a long-term loan? Are you getting my question, Ravi?
Yes, sir. When the required amount is high, maybe. That's it.
Record amount is high. Any other unique situation? Let you have taken a particular loan where you are paying interest rate of 6%, but this loan is late for you have taken for 10 years. But if you take a loan for 2 years, then you have to pay less. Another loan you want to take for different reason, then you have to take basically pay it. So that is sometimes this is not related to this bond investment. Just I am giving a kind of hypothetical situation. Sometimes what happens that looking at your cash flow, you have taken a loan and let the loan was taken for 10 years. And for some reason, you could not generate enough cash flow to repay that loan. And then in that particular point of time, to repay the loan, there is a chance that you may go for another loan. So this is basically because of situations and already also amount thing, whatever you said. But that is nothing related to the bond market. So that is also unique situation that can prevail in the market. So, but with respect to our discussion in the bond market, what we can observe that if already for some reason the inflation rate is high, then there is a possibility that the interest rate may increase in that particular point of time. So the investment in the short term period will give you the more return, but that may not basically consistently prevail for a longer period of time because the interest rate may go down further. So because of that, there is a possibility that we can get a declining or the inverted yield curve in that particular context. So can this yield curve will be a flat yield curve? Is there any possibility? Yes. Is there any possibility to have a flat yield curve?
In case of risk-free rate, I guess that is what.
In case of risk-free return. Anyway, this is a hypothetical situation where your short-term yield is, even for risk-free rate also, you will find a difference. If you are considering a 10 years bond rate and you are considering a 91 days treasury bill rate, the 10 years government bond yield and 91 days treasury bill yield, both can be considered as a risk-free rate, but there is a return difference or yield difference between them also. So therefore, we may not say that any point of time this will be flat. So this is basically a kind of hypothetical situation. So is there any other shape the yield curve can take? Anybody? Think. One is the
Concave
rise.
up, concave
Yes.
up, concave up.
Concave up. You are talking about this, like this, or you are talking about this? Is there any possibility?
No, sir,
You
like
say
increasing but concave.
it is increasing, then after a point of time it is declining. Are you
No,
telling like that?
No, sir. The graph you draw, like the first graph, it is convex from the.
It is
No, sir.
from the
It is
origin.
concave
Yes.
from the origin, but maybe there can be a graph that is convex from the origin, but same, like only increasing.
So is there any possibility that up to term to maturity, you see, whatever it is convex or concave, but if you, for example, this is your term to maturity. So if your interest rate is declining, first the interest rate was this much, then it is declining. This is basically a declining phase. Then once it will reach a particular stage, threshold limit, then it will start increasing. Is there any possibility? Or you can go over the reverse. So what basically you are telling? So whenever your term to maturity is increasing, your interest rate is yield to maturity is increasing, and after a certain point of time, it will start declining. So this is let your threshold term to maturity. Is it possible? If it is possible, then when it will be possible? Yes.
Sir, is this anyhow related to business cycles?
Business cycle.
Sir, if market rate reduces after our term to maturity, then the graph that
So that means you see that if you are holding a bond whose maturity period is late 7 years, you will get a high interest rate. If your maturity period has become 8 years, your interest rate will go down. So is it possible? You are investing in the bond. Somebody is investing in a bond of 6 years maturity. He is getting a kind of interest rate, and whenever 7 years is getting more interest rate. Another person is investing in a 5 years bond, is getting another interest rate. But for example, after 7 years, you find that your 8 years bond will give you less return. Is there any possibility, or is there any theoretical logic behind that? Go ahead.
Sir, it is possible, right? Like even in some exception, we can take any scenario where it might be possible. Like let us say, uh, one who has issued the bond have defaulted after that period, probably. In that scenario, then, or about to default, maybe something, a scenario like that.
Okay. Generally, there is a possibility. So that we can basically mixed up all those graphs, whatever we have drawn. That is basically sometimes we call there is a possibility of the Harm yield curve. The Harm yield curve looks like this. Little bit better, not this one. This one. This is a Harm yield curve. We call it Harm yield curve. So here what is happening? Your short-term bonds giving you let it is up to 3 years. It is giving high returns whenever you are investing in a 1-year bond. It is giving some return. 2 years is giving more. 3 years giving more. So after this, there is a possibility that it may go down whenever you go for a longer maturity bonds. When it will be possible? If there is a possibility that your market condition, or already somebody has already answered that, this business cycle and other factors which are also responsible for this interest rate scenario, this may also is going to change, or longer term maybe relatively we are expecting that this in the market something is going to happen, which is that's why this issuer may not be inclined to give you high return for a long term bonds. But up to a particular period, they can forecast something. It may not be perfect. So that's why here the intermediate, the particular bonds which are some kind of intermediate term to maturity, maybe up to 3 years or 3 to 5 years, that will give you the high return or more return in comparison to the short-term bonds and as well as the long-term bonds. So that also observations, even the long-term bonds will give you less return than the short-term bonds. So that means we are getting high return only for the medium-term bonds. There is an intermediary period. For the medium-term bonds, we are getting more return, but for the other type of bonds, generally the return or the yield will be relatively less. So that is also a possibility of that. So these are the different scenario can prevail in the market. So there are different theories which try to explain the shape of the yield curve. Economically or theoretically, there are different arguments which basically gives you the idea. We have discussed certain practical arguments which are theoretical logics which are responsible for this. But there is also a possibility of the other arguments into that theoretical arguments which gives you the idea that why this shape of the yield curve basically looks like this. So before we go and discuss about this different theories, I will just explain something about the spot rates and the forward rates, and how the forward rates can be calculated from the spot rate, which will be, this concept will be used for the explanation of those theories. So then we can move towards the different theories. You need any break, or I will continue?
So maybe you can leave us early.
What time?
मतलब break की जगह आप थोड़ा जल्दी
No,
छोड़
I
दीजिए.
don't need break, Ray. I'm just asking you. You people always ask for. That's why you thought ki, I've not given you the chance. That's why I asked. We'll continue.
Sir, 5-minute break, please.
Ravi, you are telling something.
Sir, give break for 5 minutes.
Okay.